Alright, so I just got back from watching A Quiet Place Day 1, a prequel to the first two Quiet Place movies that have been coming out since 2018. This one not being directed by John Krasinski, even though he was involved with the story a little bit. This is a new director. I don't think I've seen anything by him, but his last name ends with a ski, like John Krasinski, so that's fun. And I know he directed Pig with Nicolas Cage, which came out a couple years ago. That was a bit of a cult, I'm not going to say classic, but a bit of a cult hit. I haven't seen it, but I know it's generally well regarded. So he took the helm for this prequel. It stars Lupita Nyong'o, who is a terrific actress, and Joseph Quinn, who is on the rise. We know him from Stranger Things. So I was pretty excited for this movie. I really like the first two. The first one I think is almost a masterpiece. The second one, not as good, but still a good movie. So I was excited for this one, and I'm happy to say I was not disappointed, even though I don't think it's as good as the first two, especially not the first one. But I do not think it's a bad movie. I think it's a good, not great movie. So I will talk about a little bit of the positives, negatives, and I'll end with some positives here. On the positive side, as it should be, the sound design and the sound mixing in this movie is absolutely impeccable. This is definitely a theater watch. It's a theater experience. The sound really pops with those big speakers. And everything has an extra oomph. When you hear a loud noise, it really ups the tension. The tension in this movie is, for the most part, really, really good, just like the first two. That is a good thing. The acting, no big surprise here, is really good, especially by our two leads. They do a really good job of selling the character drama. And yeah, they just did a good job with that. Also, the cat, I'm not gonna say that cat was a good actor, even though, you know, if a cat can be a good actor, I guess this cat was. But they do a good job of making you attached to the cat and not making the cat annoying, which is something that could very easily happen in these movies. Animals and kids in suspense movies can either work really, really well or be really, really annoying, and the cat wasn't that annoying in this movie, so there's some props there. As far as the negative side goes, the movie does drag a little in the middle. Not so much that I started, checking my watch or anything like that, but I did start to feel like there wasn't much going on plot-wise or story-wise near the middle of the movie. It has a really good opening and a really strong ending, but in the middle, for about, I would say, 10 or 15 minutes, in my opinion, not a lot was going on, and it got a little almost boring. Not quite boring for me, but a little bit there. And I could tell in my audience there were some rufflings of the seats, people checking out their phones and all that stuff, so not a great sign there. Also, character motivation, I didn't have a problem with it, but I think some people will, because the movie doesn't make it super obvious why a certain character wants to do a certain thing until near the end. And by then, they might have already, written this whole character off, because what this character is doing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think that might happen. It didn't happen for me. I was able to figure it out, not because I'm a genius or anything, but I was just one of the people that could figure it out. And it didn't really bother me, but I can see from other people's perspective, character motivation not being super strong here. And also Joseph Quinn's character, I found a little confusing at the start. Not enough to ruin the movie for me or anything, but his motivations are kind of unclear, and I kind of just ignored it and enjoyed the movie. But, when I sat back and thought about it, I didn't really know why he was doing what he was doing, when I did know why Lupita Nyong'o's character was doing what she was doing. So there's a little bit of a negative there. But to end with last positive, I do think, and I mentioned this earlier, the ending is, in my opinion, very strong. It was edge off your seat tension, in my opinion. It is a prequel, and in most prequels, there is no tension, because you know what's going to happen. It's a prequel. But this movie solves that problem because we don't know any of these characters except for a couple cameos. But the main characters, we don't know. We don't know what happens to them. So they could live, they could die. We don't know. We don't see them in the other movies. So that really worked to the movie's advantage, and I was very tense. I will say also there is some decent jump scares in this movie. There is one in particular that really got my theater. It made everybody jump, and everybody kind of chuckled and laughed embarrassingly because people, their fight or flight responses kicked in. Some people got really violent in their seats. They reacted quite violently, and other people screamed and freaked out and tried to, like, jump out of their seats. It was hilarious. So there is a jump scare in this movie that was really, really well done, at least for my theater. Some people might be able to see it coming, but my theater certainly didn't. So yeah, honestly, it's a recommendation for me for the theater experience. I do not think it's as good as the first two if you really love the series. And the character motivation and character storyline might bother some people and it might not bother other people. So I can't quite say who's going to fall on which side there. But I do think it has good tension and it has good sound design. It's a great theater watch, especially with a crowd that's into it. But just don't expect it to be as good as the first one, at least. It might be as good as the second one, I don't know. But yeah, A Quiet Place, day one, is currently in theaters right now. You can go ahead and check it out.